I'm going to start with this image. So this, when I see this, it's like a horror film to me. I just imagine you're lying in bed and all of a sudden this figure, I kind of imagine, you can see the outline of the nose and the lips first, like some horror film coming down from the ceiling, and then all of a sudden a beardy man with an eagle next to him is looking at you from above. That to me, that's quite disturbing. That's not particularly what I would be fancying, just lying in bed minding my own business. This is what's happened to this lady. This is actually a scene from Greek mythology. So this beardy man looking down at her, with a rather strange expression on his face, and his pet eagle with him. So this is Zeus. And if you know anything about Greek mythology, you might know that that's Zeus because he is generally depicted with an eagle. The eagle is one of his symbols. And then actually, for those, I was going to say eagle-eyed followers, for those amongst you who can see there's a bit of gold beneath the eagle, not terribly easy to make out here, but that's a thunderbolt as well. So thunderbolts and eagles, this is all to do with Zeus. Okay, so what is he doing, looming over this lady in an alarming fashion? By the way, she is doing her best not to notice him, in my opinion. She's like, there's this crazy man looming over me, and what do? Well, I'm just going to ignore him. Pretend he's not there, or maybe hasn't noticed him, which I find hard to believe. So this lady is Danae, and she has had the misfortune to be the only child of King Acrisius. King Acrisius has learnt a prophecy from the oracle that he will be killed by one of his grandchildren, specifically his grandson. So he thinks, well, she's my only daughter. She is a lovely young lady. So, if I let her out and about in the world, it's not going to be long before she has a lot of suitors. So I'm going to do what any loving father would do in this situation. I'm going to lock her in a chamber underground so that no one can even see her, let alone woo her or court her. So Danae gets locked in this sumptuous chamber with a maidservant, as you can see, this lady to the right of the painting, but she is underground. But of course, what King Acrisius hasn't accounted for is the fact that Zeus gets everywhere. So at some point, Zeus has either found out about Danae and heard that she's very lovely and decided to pay her a visit, or perhaps he has spotted her because Zeus is the king of the gods. I mean, he's all seeing, he gets everywhere. Upshot is that he decides that yes, he really does fancy Danae quite a lot, and so he decides that he wants to ravish her. And this is Zeus, dressed up to look his best and not spooky at all, coming into Danae's chamber, and he comes to her actually as a shower of golden coins. Sometimes it's depicted more like rain, but coins or rain, and he rains down upon her, and this is this sort of ravishment Greek mythology style. Now, when you get ravished by Zeus, that's never the end of it. It's never the end of it, because when you get ravished by Zeus, you get pregnant. So Danae then eventually has to say to her dad, "Oh, I'm pregnant." Obviously, King Acrisius was not happy at all. Did his best. So Danae gave birth to a little boy. She named the little boy Perseus, one of the big heroes of Greek mythology. And King Acrisius did his best to ensure that Perseus didn't grow up to be a strapping young lad and kill him. He didn't manage it. Perseus did grow up. So I know what you're thinking. Did Perseus kill King Acrisius? Of course he did. It's Greek mythology. Of course he did. So, what did he do? Did he, I don't know, did he challenge him to a duel? Did he have the king exiled and eaten by wolves? Did he poison him? No, he didn't actually even know who the king was, and they happened to be at the same funeral games together quite some time in the future. And Perseus threw a discus, and it hit King Acrisius on the head and killed him. So King Acrisius died of discus to the head. What a kind of prosaic way to go. So yeah. Delphic Oracle is never wrong, but sometimes it's not quite as dramatic. The outcome isn't quite as dramatic as one might imagine or hope for. So this is the story of Danae. This painting actually, so this is Netherlandish, and don't know the artist specifically. It's 16th century, but it's absolutely taken from this image, which is Titian, Zeus, a sort of suggestion rather than this big looming face. So this image dates to around about 1554. It's now in the exhibition Love, Desire, Death in the National Gallery, one of the few works in that exhibition, wonderful exhibition, now back open, so you can go and see it. And this is the rather less successful copy, which was up for auction a couple of years ago. I don't know how much it sold for, but its reserve price was somewhere between 18 and 25,000 euros. So still fetched a good price, but there we go. Talking of beards. Okay, talking of beards, what do you get when you cross Cinderella with Jesus? This is what you get when you cross Cinderella with Jesus. I'm not kidding. It's actually, this isn't some kind of Disney riff on Jesus's crucifixion, complete with soulful music with this violinist in the bottom corner. This is a saint. Okay, so this is a story. I've found another one. This is a story of a female saint called Wilgefortis. So she's Portuguese, and she, as obviously all these female saints are, she's a lovely young lady, very beautiful, and she is born this time into a royal family, not just a noble family, but she's born into a royal family, and the family are pagan. So she has decided that she wants to dedicate her life to God, and that she doesn't want to be married, and that she's going to remain chaste. The same story as Agatha and Lucy before her. They all start in a very similar way and sort of follow a similar trajectory with different outcomes, as you can see. But her father decides that actually she is going to marry. He makes a very good match for her, very advantageous match for her, and despite her protestations, she is betrothed. She is absolutely distraught, and so she prays to God that she will be sort of delivered from this horrible fate to be married. But she doesn't pray for her suitor, for anything bad to happen to her suitor. What she prays for is that she will become repulsive to him, and so he won't want to marry her. So she goes to bed that night, having said her prayers, and she wakes up in the morning with this gorgeous, long, luxurious beard. And of course, this beard has the desired effect on her suitor, who really isn't that keen on marrying a lady with a luxuriously long beard. I don't think he would have gone for our friend, what was her name? Magdalena Ventura. Do you remember her from Ribera? So he says no thanks, and he runs a mile. Her father is absolutely furious, and he throws her in prison. So not a brothel this time. So she escapes the brothel. Perhaps they think that she might not do so well in a brothel, but she goes to prison. Unfortunately, her father doesn't cool down and let her out. He gets more and more angry, and eventually when he realises that this marriage really isn't going to take place because she has got this beard and her suitor he's headed for the hills, he says, right, okay, do you know what? You love this God so much that you can be crucified like your God, like the God that you adore. So poor old Wilderfortis, not only does she have the most strange and, in my opinion, unattractive name of any of the saints, she also is then destined to be crucified, which is what's happening here. But of course, she is of royal blood, and so she says, well, you know, can I dress up for my crucifixion? And so she puts on her best clothes for God, and she puts on her best shoes. In fact, she puts on shoes of solid gold for her crucifixion, like you would, obviously. So she is hanging on the cross. Not the end of the story, because we can see this little violinist in the corner here. He is a poor musician who comes along and sees Wilderfortis. I always want to call her, like, I don't know, something else. Wilderfortis. Wilgerfortis, you see, I keep getting it wrong. And he starts playing to her to sort of give her some solace while she's on the cross. And so she's very grateful, and so she kicks one of her gold shoes at him. Sounds like she's not grateful. She sort of shoves a gold shoe in his direction, sort of to give it to him so that then he can take the gold shoe and make some money, which is exactly what he does. So yeah, she doesn't like kick it and it hits him in the head. No. Different story. So he takes the gold shoe and he goes off and has the gold melted down. But he doesn't get away with it because he is then caught by the authorities, and they say, well, where did you get this money from? And he says, well, you know, this lady who's hanging on a cross gave it to me, and gave me the gold shoe. And he is accused then of stealing royal footwear. So he gets thrown in prison as well. Fortunately, he is a very persuasive young, not so poor musician anymore. And he says, look, you know, I promise you, I am absolutely innocent. Please believe me, but if I'm going to go to my death, like Wilgerfortis, let me just go and play to her one more time. And so he is allowed to go back and play to Wilgerfortis, who is fortunately still alive, and he goes and he plays to her, and she kicks off her other shoe and sort of shoves it in his direction. But of course, this time the crowds have assembled, and so everybody witnesses this event, and it becomes very clear that she has in fact given him the gold shoe, and so he is saved from imprisonment or perhaps death. She, of course, passes away and goes up to be amongst the angels and becomes the patron saint of abused women, in fact. But yes, is forever now immortalised in images like this, where she is on a cross with her lovely beard, and very often has a musician at her foot, and has kicked off in this image one shoe, and the other one is going to go the same way shortly. So, who knew? Who knew Wilgerfortis? Very popular in Austria, apparently, for some reason. So, and I think there's an image of her in a church in Norfolk somewhere too, a statue. But so not Jesus in drag, but Wilgerfortis. And to end, a cheeky little number to end. In fact, this little guy is the patron saint of, not of abused women, but he is a protector of women. Maybe you'll see why. There we go. I'll just give you a few moments for your eyes to adjust. Yes, you can believe your eyes. So this is Bez, who is an Egyptian god. So he's a dwarf, and this is from 30 BC. So this is Egyptian from 30 BC, very old indeed. It's now in the Getty Center in Los Angeles. But Bez is he's kind of a weird one. So he is a deity, but he's also a demonic fighter. He is the god of sexuality, no kidding, and humour, but also of war and fighting. So I don't know what the Egyptians thought there, but he is quite a mixture. Jollity, laughter, dancing, although I don't know how he manages to dance with all that going on. That's all I can say. So we've got the protector of women here and the patron saint of abused women in St. Wilgefortis, and then of course a ravished woman in Danae. Happy Thursday! I'll turn comments back on and turn images off. Pub me too. Oh, that's good. Everyone's been to the pub. I also went to the pub before I went to a restaurant. Yes. So which two am I going to put up? I think I'm going to put up, I think it has to be Bez and Wilgefortis. And I wouldn't like to guess actually which one's going to win out of those two. Usual high standard, that's very kind. Oh no. That chap from the Happy Mondays has changed. What? Is that I don't understand. Sorry. That's a reference that's far too highbrow for me. Happy Mondays, that's the band, wasn't it? Never mind. So, Bez. Oh, was he called Bez? Ah, okay. Well, you don't know. Have you ever seen the chap from the Happy Mondays in his birthday suit? Oh, thank you, Donna. Thank you for joining. Thank you very much. So I wish you all a wonderful weekend. I hope you're out and about and having fun. We've got more curated canapes and cocktails coming up. I will also be organising another Zoom talk fairly shortly, so dates to be announced. Watch Instagram, and yeah, all sorts of happy things going on here. So I hope everything is lovely in your worlds too. And I will. Wilberforce looks like one of my students. I've just seen that. Wilberfortis. You've got a lady student. It's a bit like Conchita Wurst, doesn't she, with the beautiful face and the beard. Just unusual to see her being crucified. But anyway, yes, there we go. On that note, have a great day, and I will see you next Thursday. Thanks for joining. Bye.